Okay, so I covered multiplying and dividing fractions because those are actually the operations I think that are easier to do. Adding and subtracting fractions takes a little bit more time to perform. So let's look at adding and subtracting fractions. So if A, B, and C are numbers where C is not 0, then here we've got two fractions, A over C plus B over C. Now, if these are similar fractions, meaning they have the same denominator, then when you add these two fractions, these two similar fractions with equal denominators, then you can just add the numerators over the denominator, just writing the denominator once. And the same is true with subtracting. If you are subtracting two similar fractions where the denominators are equal, then you can just subtract the numerators and just write one of the denominator down here. And so that's simply how adding and subtracting fractions work. The fractions must first have common denominators, then adding or subtracting the numerators is allowed. The trick is, what happens if the denominators are not the same? Okay, what if they're different numbers? That's where some more work is involved. And so that's where we come across the idea of a least common denominator of more than one fraction. So the least common denominator of more than one fraction is the least common multiple of their denominators. So for example, let's say we needed to add these two fractions together, 1 over 18 plus 3 over 4. Now, we cannot simply just add the numerators and add the denominators. We can't do that because these denominators aren't equal. Okay, 18 is not equal to 4. So we're going to have to convert each of these fractions into new fractions with equal denominators. So we need to find the least common multiple between the denominators of 18 and 4. So if we look at multiples of 18, so 18, and if we add 18 to that, we get 36. If we add 18 to that, we get 54. If you add 18 to that, you get 72, and so on. Those are multiples of 18. Now, if we look at multiples of 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24, plus 4 is 28, plus 4 is 32, plus 4 is 36, plus 4 is 40, plus 4 is 48, plus 4 is, 44, then 48, and you could just keep going forever. Okay, so these are all multiples of 4. So what you're looking for is you're looking for the least common multiple, so the smallest common multiple. So first of all, if we look at 18, the first multiple of 18 is 36. And if we look at the multiples of 4, you can see that 36 is also a multiple of 4. So 36 is the least common multiple of 18 and 4. So we want to use this fact in order to add these two fractions together. So the question is now, in order to add these together and for them to have a common denominator, the denominator is going to be this least common multiple. So the denominator has to be 36. All right, but how do we take this fraction of 1 over 18 and make it so the denominator is 36 and not 18? Well, we can do that by multiplying 1 over 18 by 2 over 2. Okay, 2 over 2 is just 1. So multiplying 1 over 18 by 1 isn't going to change anything. But if we multiply the numerator by 2 in the denominator by 2. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 18 is 36. Now over here on this second fraction, 3 over 4, we need to somehow get this denominator of 4 to be a value of 36. Well, how do we get 4 to be 36? Well, we have to multiply it by 9, because 4 times 9 is 36. But we can't just multiply the denominator by 9. We also have to multiply the numerator by 9 as well. And so 3 times 9 is 27, and 4 times 9 is 36. And so now with our denominators both equal, we have common denominators, we can now add these two fractions. And so 2 plus 27 gives us 29, and that's over our common denominator of 36. So 1 over 18 plus 3 over 4 is equal to 29 over 36. Now this can't be reduced because 29 is a prime number, and 36 does not have 29 as a factor, so we're not going to be able to simplify anything here. So this process works here. This works, okay? But it's not very practical in a lot of situations. I just did it this way to kind of show you what we mean by least common multiple, all right? So let's look at another way. So another way to find the least common multiple is to use factor trees for each denominator. And so what I've got here is the denominator of the first fraction, which is 18, and the denominator of the second fraction, which was 4. So let's do factor trees of these two. So first we use the prime number 2, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. 2 will not divide 9 evenly, so we have to use 3, and 9 is 3 times 3. So 18 is equal to 2 times 3 times 3, and 4 is just 2 times 2. That was pretty easy. Okay, so what do we do with these factor trees? Well, the least common multiple will have every different prime factor in each factor tree. So what that means is if we look at these two factor trees, you can see that the first factor tree has 2 and 3 as factors. And this second factor tree has only 2. So the least common multiple will have factors of 2 and 3 in it. Okay, because the least common multiple will have every different prime factor in it. So, it's going to have both 2 and 3 and not just 2, because it's going to be every different one. Okay, now the second one here, the least common multiple will have the most repetitions of each unique factor across all factor trees. So when we look at this factor of 2, what's the most number of times it occurred in each factor tree? Well, in this factor tree, 2 occurred once. So 2 occurred once. But over in this factor tree, 2 occurred twice. All right, so 2 occurred the most times in this factor tree, which means our least common multiple is going to be composed of 2 occurring twice, because that's the most number it occurred. And then we look at the other unique factor, which was 3, and it occurred twice here. 3 didn't occur here, okay, so that's not going to contribute to anything. But 3 occurred twice here. So our least common multiple is going to have 2 3s in it. So what's 2 times 2? That's 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 9 is 36. So this is a different way of where you can come up with a least common multiple between two different denominators, which, believe it or not, is in a number of situations going to be better than doing it this way. So let's look at an example of that. Now, I do have these examples as think pair shares, but let me do, let's see here, let me do the first one, and I'll leave the second one for you to do, and I'll give you the answer. Okay, so we want to add these two fractions together. And so notice right away that the denominators are different. So we have to come up with a least common multiple of 12 and 15. So let's do the least common multiple of 12 and 15. So we're going to do a factor tree of 12 and a factor tree of 15. So 12 is 2 times 6 and 2 times 3. And 15, 2 doesn't divide it, but 3 does. All right. So now the next step is to look at all unique factors. All right, so the unique factors that we have is we've got 2's. Oops. Should have been a highlight. We've got 2's. We have 3's. And we have a 5. So we've got 3 unique factors across both factor trees. Now, the third step is to now compose our least common multiple of the maximum number of times each unique factor occurs in a factor tree. So our 2 occurs twice in this one. That's the maximum number of times it occurs. It doesn't even occur in this one. So we've got 2 2's. Sorry, I think my tablet is overheating. Let's see here, we've got 2. So because 2 occurs twice, we're going to have 2 of those in our least common multiple. And then 3 occurs only once in both. So the maximum number of 3's we have across both is 1. And 5 only occurs in one of these. So with only occurring once. So our least common multiple is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which is what? 4 times 15. So our least common multiple is 60. So we need to figure out how to make a denominator of 12 so that it will become a denominator of 60. And then we got to figure out how to make a denominator of 15 also have a denominator of 60. So notice here that when it comes to 12, our least common multiple has 12 in it. Okay, but what's left? 5. So that means we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 5. And when it comes to our fraction 11 over 15, our least common multiple has 15 in it. Well, what's left? 4. So when we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 4. And 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 12 is 60. 4 times 11 is 44. And 4 times 15 is 60. So now we've converted 7/12 into 35/60 and 11/15 equivalently into 44/60. And now we can add 35 and 44 together to give us 79/60. And I'll go ahead and leave this as an improper fraction. That is how we add those two fractions together by finding a least common multiple of their denominators. So try this other example on your own. The improper fraction you should get as an answer will be 103/60. So give that a try.